The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been called upon to take necessary measures to prevent the recurrence of the numerous challenges that undermine the integrity of the 2023 general elections during the upcoming off-cycle governorship elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states in November. The call was also extended to Nigerians who were urged to shift their attention to the positive aspects that emerged from the previous elections and work towards maintaining them. Take a look.
Three general elections. Faith Mwadishi, the executive director of the Center for Transparency Advocacy, highlighted the concerns raised by some citizens regarding the challenges faced during the elections, particularly logistical issues. However, she emphasized the need for Nigerians to consider the broader context in which the elections occurred. While acknowledging these challenges, she emphasized that it is crucial for citizens not to overlook the significant achievements of the 2023 elections.
I don't think anybody can say that I'm a card-carrying member of any political party. But there's some people who are card-carrying members of political parties, and because it didn't go well in some areas, it went well. In other areas, they rejoice because it went their way. In other areas, they don't rejoice because it didn't go their way. The political process is for us to strengthen our democracy. And the reason for this is because the next off-season election that is coming, Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo, there's some lessons we have learned from the 2023 general elections that we need to highlight to help strengthen the forthcoming elections that we are having. And I think also that all of these conversations that we're having, as we're putting the torchlight on the electoral empire, we should look at the political class. We need to extract the commitment from the political class that they are ready to help our electoral processes. Because as far as the political class continue to carry on business as usual, we will see put everything in place, give the assurance that everything is going to work, but when it comes on election day, we see those issues that we don't have a handle on.
They added that despite the challenges, the BVAS remains a game changer that will revolutionize the country's election process.
The BVAS, we still say and still maintain it is a game changer in our electoral process. We need to build on that technology. We need to strengthen the processes and the different organizations and stakeholders who are participating in delivering our elections in the country.
Are we saying the 2023 election was without challenges? No. The challenges of those elections need to be put in context. That is what we are saying. Put it in context. And INEC is going to get into a review of the 2023 election like they do after every election. We need to intensify civic and voter education. It's very important.
She praised the Election Monitoring Board for setting a global standard with their adept use of technology, which even litigants relied upon during tribunal cases. Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Hello viewers, Eid Mubarak and welcome to Daily Politics. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Hamza Idris. On Daily Politics tonight, we delve into a crucial event that has ignited discussions about the future of Nigeria elections. The recent press conference held by the Center for Transparency and Advocacy CT on the 2023 general elections to bring to the forefront pressing concerns surrounding the integrity and credibility of our electoral process. We're now joined by the Executive Director of CTA, Faith Mwadishi, to give more perspective on the issue. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're happy having you once again. I will go on a short break. When we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back and congratulations for the recent briefing, roundtable with stakeholders. Who are those stakeholders that you discussed with?
Okay, so we had observers, people from who were on the field on election day. We also had some politicians in the hall, and we also had the citizens, Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians who were there, including journalists that were there to look at the 2023 election while we're preparing for the forthcoming off-cycle election.
Yes, one thing about you is you always call a spade a spade, and maybe that is why you re-emphasize at that forum that you are not a card-carrying member of any political party, and neither are you fixated with INEC. Exactly. You are neutral. Exactly. You bring out issues. Now, many Nigerians are condemning the election, and we are facing another election in the future. Is that why you convoke that meeting, to learn from the mistakes?
Exactly. You know, there's this saying everywhere, I think it's an African saying, that you don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. Yeah. We all put in a lot into preparing for the 2023 election. Some people put in more than the others. And there were people who were expecting certain results, but they didn't get it. And it happens for every election, even household elections that they hold, even community elections. Yeah. Most times, the initial reaction is, if it doesn't go your way, it didn't go very well. But if it went your way, you are celebrating. If you also take a step back, you will see that those people who it didn't go their way this time, some time ago that it went their way, they were celebrating and commending the entire process. Now, we are not saying that the election was 100% perfect. Like we say, there's no perfect election anywhere in the world. Even in the developed world, there's no perfect election anywhere. So
people are still discussing the last US election.
Exactly.
Even though another one is
just about to happen.
Mm.
So the thing is, we learn from the good things that happened. We learn from the mistakes of the bad things that happened so that they don't happen anymore, and strengthen the good things that happen. You know, going into the election, we talked a lot about the issue of technology. We all know that as humans, we don't have 100%, grip on technology. It can fail at any time. Even you can be riding your car, you just leave your home, and then just in front of your gate, your car develops fault without any notice. And so when it happens, you have to get an expert to look at it to say, this is what happened, and he or she gives you advice on what next to do. So going into this election, we had a few innovations that we brought. For instance, looking at the Electoral Act 2022, yes, that we had, there were new innovations around there. There were innovations around the use of technology, and then going into what has happened is that you had Nigerians, you had humans who had to sit down to look at all of these processes. For instance, one of the things that you need to bring out of this election, it's also something that grew from the 2019 election into the 2023 election, the issue of continuous voters registration. Yeah. The Electoral Act prescribes a way to carry out continuous voter registration. But all we have been having in this country has been ad hoc voter registration close to the time of election, 1 month. But we have had over 1 year and a half period for people. Is it
one of the 15 clauses you
Yes,
spoke
exactly. And then that was also carried on. And then also the fact that now you have the machine that identifies real people. Now, look at the total number of persons who came out to vote. Some people have argued that, oh yes, there's voter apathy.
25 million,
yes, but people argue that there's voter apathy. We had also said, with the result that we are getting, it's important for us to look very closely into our voter register, because now you have an election where you have less than 25 million percent of the number of participation. But again, you want to go back to look at how has it been. We have been able to remove the fact that people can just come and vote even when they were not there. Now you cannot clone somebody's voter's card. You cannot steal somebody's identity anymore to come out to vote, because you no longer have the incidence form. So it has been wiped out. The identity theft in our election is completely wiped out.
So it's zero now.
It's zero. That's why you see that the winner of the election got 8 million votes. Yes. And then if you put together the total number of votes he didn't get, is 100%. It's 100% more than the votes. That's if you put the different candidates to get all their votes.
What
it's
Atiku got,
yes,
what Obi got, and all the rest.
And all it's over 100% of what he got. We have never had that. We always had somebody winning election with almost 100%, votes, much more than the next person. So it shows you right now that the real people, our voting process is capturing now real people. Remember, there was a time we had the election, and I keep using that example because I was on the field observing the election. I think that was 2007 when I was on the field in Delta State when we were observing the election on the field, and somebody called my attention that Delta State result has been announced at the International Conference Center. While we were still on the field, we were not even compiling. People were still voting.
Wow.
People were still voting when election results were announced.
That did not happen during.
No, it didn't. It didn't happen during this 2023
because the room
general
to do
election
that wasn't there.
You understand? And then another thing again, it calls to question the commitment of our political class to improving our democracy. Now, there is this opportunity for every person who is contesting election at whatever level to ensure that you have polling agents at all the polling units. And if you have a polling agent, it means you have an eye
on what
there.
is happening.
But there are some political parties who didn't even deploy up to 2% of the total number of
and they claim that there were infractions.
Exactly. So
I have two fundamental questions on this point you made, and I want you to clear them. The first one is, you said, okay, we have real voters. But based on INEC register, over 90 million have been registered, and then is it 80-something million have collected
the PVC? The
PVC. Now then, what happened to almost 55 million that did not vote? Is it apathy, or where do we place them?
Okay.
Or INEC has to do another round of cleaning?
So INEC truly needs to do another round of cleaning. That's one of our recommendations that we have. But you know that prior to the election, we began to see politicians dispose voters' cards that they collected. So those people whose cards were flung on the highways, caught in the bushes, those people didn't have voters' cards to vote.
At what point were they dispossessed of those cards?
At the point of before now, because you could actually use another person's voter's card to go and vote. But with the BVAS, you no longer can do that. You no longer can do that. I may already say that we have been able to eliminate identity theft in our electoral processes. So in the past, those politicians will bring out those cards and just distribute it to people. And say, go and vote. You can go and vote. The reason you can vote is that
Simon can claim Abdul.
Exactly.
Ezekiel can claim Israel.
So you can go, and then when it's not captured on fingerprint, they fill incidence form for you. And you are captured. But now there's no incidence form. It's either your fingerprint is captured or your face is captured. And we cannot borrow people's faces to go for election. So you needed to be there physically. That's one major thing we need to keep saying about the outcome of this 2023 election that we had.
It's not all about voter apathy. It's beyond that.
It's not all about voter. It's not all about voter apathy, because if you're looking at one election that you had citizens really interested in, it was this 2023 election. And there's another thing. There's another thing about expectation, another thing about outcome. So if I have this expectation that this particular candidate is going to be the winner, and this happens, my expectation is completely dashed. And so the narrative becomes, oh, that something had happened. Meanwhile, we forget as Nigerians that all of these politicians on election, towards election, they behave as if they are enemies. They come out with different languages, and the followers follow the body language of these politicians. But at the end of the day, you see all of them come to a round table. You see all of them going to the same parties. You see all of them now lobbying for one position or the other. Meanwhile, we have so divided ourselves, even within families, that people can no longer even talk to themselves. Because, oh, this person was part of this political party, this person was part of this political party, and it didn't go our own way. So what we really need to do, and one thing that came out again, is that we need real political education and voter education for the citizens. Now, take the electoral process, for instance. There are issues around security. There are issues around political parties participation. There are issues around voter participation, media, and all of that. So you go to a place, there's violence. police is supposed to have at least 3 or 4 police officers placed at a polling unit. You go to the polling unit, you don't see security.
Thousands of
176,000 polling units.
The way we tell the police, the total population, not more than 400,000.
We don't have. So you have that issue, and then you also have politicians themselves who, instead of engaging citizens with the issue, rather we keep money to engage touts that will come and disrupt.
So what should we do to address this major problem of having maybe at least 3 policemen to a polling station, so that we shouldn't even have a single police person? Because if in other climes, I have also monitored election, you go to certain places, you will not see any security because they don't see election as a do or die.
No, let me even shock you. I was in Israel when they had, I can't remember the year now, they had an election. It was election day. We didn't even know there was election in Israel that day.
Because life was not stalled.
Our guide, our tour guide, just took us over and said, please, we are going to vote. I said, you mean the selection with all of the insecurity we hear about Israel and all of those kind of places? And you people are having an election. There's no police carrying gun, no army.
To snatch
everywhere.
Ballot, yeah.
What we need, I keep saying it, political education and voter education for our people, including the politicians. And I said, for instance, you know, Kenya had the election before we had ours. The same electronic process that we use in Nigeria was the one that went to teach Kenya that.
Like the beavers.
I'm telling you,
I
told them, what I told them was that the technology we took to Kenya helped Kenya. The only thing we didn't do in the Kenya election was to take our politicians there.
Maybe, assuming we took the politicians, what will be the outcome?
It will come out worse than what we have in Nigeria.
So, meaning our problem is not about our technology, it's not about the attitude of the electorate, but majorly the politicians.
Politicians, security.
And it's also not about INEC.
No, it's really not about
INEC is doing well because it is actually exporting.
Do you know why?
Expertise to other countries.
INEC is made up of Nigerians. It's made up of Nigerians who are within this same society that we find ourselves. We need to begin to look inwards. You know, when security has done something wrong, because of the kind of law that you have, you see, they will go and hide under INEC. People don't know that INEC doesn't have its own police. They don't have its own police. They're not able to prosecute their own cases. And that's why they're also looking for this Electoral Offences Commission. And
the politicians are reluctant.
Now, look at the issue of transportation. INEC doesn't have the vehicles to carry people to the different places. They have to rely on Road Transport Workers Union, Road Transport Owners Union, Boat Owners Union. They have to rely on all of those people.
Are they part of the issues you said, lack of adequate resources, such as cash and fuel, combined with the persistent insecurity across the country, pose significant challenge for the successful conduct of the last election?
Yes, everybody saw that was a very big challenge for everybody. In fact, today I was discussing with somebody and he said it affected his business. There were people who didn't have cash to even participate and buy things for themselves. So at that time, we know that I think INEC had meetings with the central bank governor, the CEO of NNPCL. They made promises that these things were going to be available. Even those of us who were observing elections, we had issues to be able to even transport to certain places, get people to go to observe those elections because there was cash crunch. People didn't have access to cash. We were buying naira for naira. During the governorship election, we had to go to data sets. We were buying naira at 30%. At 30%. So it impacted a lot on the budget. It impacted a lot also on the other logistics that you have to do. So if you look at an organization like the Electoral Umpire that needs to deploy people to the field and do so many other things, definitely it was a challenge.
Are we not moving like a circus? What do I mean? You advocated for fuel subsidy removal.
Yeah.
It has been removed finally, even after the election.
Exactly.
Are you not feeling guilty now? Because if election were to hold today, don't you think is akin to the cash crunch phenomenon that we had ahead of the 2023 election?
Okay,
because people cannot even afford to buy the fuel as we speak.
So at that time, the fuel was not even available. As at the time of the election, the fuel was not even, there was fuel scarcity. It's unlike now that we have the fuel available, we're buying it at an exorbitant price.
Yeah, so is there any difference now?
There is a lot of difference. The difference is that now it's about you being able to afford it. than the other time when it was not even available. Even when you had your money, you couldn't buy it. That means you didn't have a drop. One of the filling stations, I was talking to the people, this issue of fuel subsidies also affected them. They used to sell like 2-3 trucks in a week, but now they managed to finish 1 truck in a week.
In a week.
So the truck will just come there and stay. Because
waiting
people
to be uploaded.
Waiting to be uploaded. Now, the person who wanted to buy 10 liters at that time, where there was no fuel,
yes,
and was even willing to buy it 1,000 naira per liter, did not even have it. But now the person who wanted to buy 10 liters and is having money for 5 liters can buy 5 liters. Now, when we advocated for the removal of subsidy, we advocated that there should be palliatives in place.
Which is not there.
Which is not there. And we are still asking that this can be done. And another thing about it is that when we follow up the history and the way that things have gone, remember that in the final days of the last administration, they said they had paid subsidy up to the end of June.
Yes.
So this suffering we are seeing now, we are not supposed to have started it till the 1st of
Meaning
July.
somebody is holding on to that resources.
So we need to interrogate that, and it is good that we have a new government. For over the years, I, for one, in 2012, I was among the people who organized that. Why are you removing this? Is the only way. But I tell you, when I sat down and studied this, especially from my background of the work I have done with the
reference to the
Occupy Nigeria. I was one of the leaders in Delta State at that time. But having sat down with the hindsight of information and knowledge that I have now, I understand that, number one, the issue of subsidy is actually a fraud. We don't have subsidy. If we can have that, we can have that on another day. But let us remove it, so that nomenclature of subsidy, let us remove it and now know where that money is going into. If, for instance, you put that money into education, you put that money into health, you put that money into infrastructure, people will benefit from it. If you put that money into production, like, why will you remove fuel subsidy now and increase electricity tariff? You could actually put that subsidy into electricity tariff, because people are using electricity to produce and make the society work better.
These are entirely a different conversation, which I think you have to talk on it maybe at a later distance. But you talk about making things work well. At what point did we got it wrong? Because you cited technology has assisted INEC to give us what we had, which is really positive, right? What happened? Because Obi, Atiku, they're all latching on the failure of IREF and Bevers to some extent to prove their case against President Tinubu. What really happened? For instance, Obi said, why did INEC uploaded everything about Senate, everything about reps, everything about governorship, everything about state assembly, but not the presidential.
So because the case is still in court, perhaps we'll still wait until, so that the courts can tell us what exactly had happened. No, but because it is technology. I said it before, it is technology. Technology can fail anybody. And you know, going into the 2023 election, we had all of this off-season election where the beavers worked perfectly.
Yes.
We were praising that the IRF, they worked, all of them, we were praising all of that perfectly. Oh, this thing is perfect. This thing is working. Now, some of these off-season elections are isolated elections that we have had, and the presidential election is for 176,000 polling units that we have. So I don't have an explanation for what has happened, because it's still a matter that will be determined in court.
To be adjudicated,
but considering that we had about 5 or 6 elections and we have problem with one election, is something we need to completely interrogate. And also know that the beavers was a new technology. Apart from it being tested during the off-season election, we have not tested it for an election like a presidential election, where you have to involve all of the polling units, there. So, issue of technology, nobody can speak for technology. Now we are talking about AI everywhere. Even when you are using AI, you still have some glitches, you have some issues. But I would prefer we wait, let the courts come out and tell us
maybe
exactly
the brains behind the IRF forgot to consider that maybe each and every Nigerian will have interest on the presidential election,
perhaps,
and therefore maybe serious pressure on
that. They would definitely tell us, because definitely if there was pressure, pressure could also lead to the kind of glitches that we have during the election. So, now, one thing we have to understand is that the beavers worked perfectly in the accreditation of voters. In in the accreditation of voters. From our own report, we had over 80%, almost 84%, where the beavers worked perfectly in the accreditation. It took 0 to 10 minutes or so to get one person accredited.
Yes.
It was during the upload of results
that we had
issues.
And even in newsrooms, we do have pressure, especially on Mondays and things like that. So now, why is it that Nigerians lost sight on the real gains? Why? Is it that they were brainwashed by politicians to see the bad side of the outcome of the election instead of looking at the good sides of the outcome of the election?
No, I don't think it was brainwashed. It was more about expectation. It was more about expectation and saying, oh, this is a particular candidate that we want to emerge. And as soon as this particular candidate didn't emerge, I think it's something that is done everywhere. Once you have put in resources, you are putting your time looking at, and I keep saying that I don't think the greatest majority of Nigerians that have great faith are politicians. In this, when you look at the faith that a politician will know that I don't have any structure. I don't have people that will vote for me, but they will go and tell them, this next election, I'm going to win it.
They are incurable optimists, right?
Yes,
politicians.
I'm going to win it. And so you see that's kind of...
Even when they know they will not win the election.
Yes, when they know they will not even win the election. And then you have a lot of people, keying into that and all of that. But, when people have invested their expectation on going certain area, it doesn't go that area, definitely it will come this way. But I must tell you, I want to really, really congratulate Nigerians for the calm that we have had. The calm we have had since after this election. It shows that Nigerians are maturing and are willing to contribute to the sustenance of our democracy.
But some who failed to win say that Nigerians are so frustrated, and that was why they just gave up and said, okay, let's just have what you've given us.
No, Nigerians, if they say, let us just have what you have just given us, people will not be in court now. People will not be in court.
And there are hundreds of cases.
Yes, we will not even be having this conversation that if Nigerians have said, no, let us just give, no. What Nigerians now realize is that the ambition of a politician is not worth their life.
But why many people went to court? Is it that there are lapses in the Electoral Act that did not cover many holes that ordinarily those who lost out should wait for another season?
No, the courts, why they went to court is because they want to satisfy their conscience.
Not because the process was not good.
No, some of them are challenging the process. Some of them are challenging the process. They have a right to challenge any part of the election. I don't know. The judges will have to decide that, because if I do that, they will charge me for contempt. I'm not a judge.
Yeah.
So let the judges be the one to decide who wins or who did not win. But we still need to continuously have these conversations to strengthen our electoral process. Our electoral process, do you know how many years the US is? And they're still having issues. Yeah. You understand? And we are just how many years old? We get it right, but we need to make effort, commitment to ensure that what we are doing, we sustain it. We don't sweep the good part and cover it with the bad part and say the entire thing was bad. I'm sure that there are people, if you go to the National Assembly, in fact, in the past, do you look at the National Assembly and see the number of new entrants into the National Assembly?
Yeah.
Do you know that people were upstaged from their strongholds? People who have never lost election in their strongholds since 1999 came to 2023 and lost.
It shows credibility, right?
Yes, it shows that our electoral process is improving.
All right, thank you very much, Faith. We will go on a short break. Viewers, don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you are just watching, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. I still have Faith Nwadishi. She is the Executive Director, CTA, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much.
Before we move to the off-season elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi, I want to have your take. Do you think INEC officials feel they were treated fairly or they were judged fairly by Nigerians, or they are distraught by the barrage of criticism against what they did?
Well, if my personal opinion is that definitely they will be distraught because of the barrage of criticism. Everybody's talking about the criticism. Nobody's talking about the good aspect. Every media or medium you open, people are talking about the bad aspect. People are hot. People are hot because perhaps their expectations did not come. Perhaps also because some of them don't really understand the electoral process itself, and that's why there's need for voter education and citizens empowerment around the issues around voting and what it entails. Because look at it, before results are declared, and I was having a conversation with my staff in the office today, and I was just telling them there are different processes for result collation. The only place where you declare results is at the polling unit. Polling unit is where people lose or win election. So at the polling unit, you declare that result. It is the result that has already been declared from the polling unit that you take to the ward. Perhaps a ward may have like 10 or 20 polling units on that. That means you have to collate those 20 polling units and bring it to a ward. In my local government where I come from Delta State, in my local government we have about 10 wards. Yeah. You now need to collate the result of those polling units into each ward, come to the ward level, collate them, go to local government, collate them, from local government go to state, and in my state we have 25 local government areas. You collect the 25 local government areas before you bring it to Abuja. So this is the process. How many political parties have people at all of those points of collation to ensure that the result that they have is what is being presented? So if I had my party agents at polling units, the law allows you as a party agent to have a copy of the result. Yeah. If you have the copy of the result and you have your situation room, you have put everything in place, do you also have an analysis to show that whatever is on IRF, whether it's there or not, this is what my party agent gave me, signed by the party agent, that you can collaborate with the security agent, because security agents also have a copy.
Exactly. But don't you think maybe the bulk of Nigerians are angry because those who voted against APC are more than those who voted for the ruling party?
You now have over 100% of people who didn't vote. So they have a right to be angry, but in that anger, they need to ask for the right things to be done. The same way the 8 million people who voted for the APC party have their right to celebrate their win until the court decides whether they should continue celebrating or they should come back to the other side of the table that these other persons are hot.
All right, thank you. What are your fears? Elections coming up in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa on November 11. Let's start with Kogi.
Insecurity. I must tell you, the last election in Kogi was something else.
It was like a Second World War.
Yes, it was more, like a Second World War, I'm telling you. My team and I narrowly escaped being lynched in Kogi State.
And we saw ambush. Trend of this thing ahead of this election, about 4 weeks ago.
So now you're not seeing going into the election. It means that because we as citizens are not calling out the politicians, anybody that wins an election like that, we all go and line up and begin to hail the person and begin to pledge allegiance to the person without looking at the person or the subordinates of that person, because that person becomes the principal, their role that they played in bringing about that election. We are looking at Imo Kogi.
Okay.
You can imagine the level of violence that has happened in Imo.
So Bayelsa is the innocent baby, maybe.
Bayelsa, well, we are looking also to Bayelsa to show that they will continue in the way they have done in the past. It's not that there is complete eradication of violence. There was violence in Bayelsa, but it's child's play compared to what we saw in Kogi. And compared to what we saw in some parts of Imo in this last 2023 general election. So we have now reached a stage where people feel that it is their birthright to win that election. And if I don't win this election, I must do everything to instill fear, make sure people don't come out, anybody that comes out, intimidation and all of that. So we are looking at that, and we are hoping that the lessons that politicians now know, whether we like it or not, it is only citizens that don't know. Politicians now know that real people are the ones voting.
So the desperation is higher now.
It's higher.
Because no room for manipulation.
They now know that they can no longer carry the ballot paper and go and thumbprint somewhere.
I saw it somewhere, Governor Yahya Bello calling out another candidate, even though people see as if he's in the race, whereas it is his anointed Usman Ododo that is in the race. Then elsewhere we saw Dino Melaye saying that people should forget all his utterances, that he is now a refined person. And Ajaka, you know, is also saying that it is his turn, just like the Omelakon of Tinubu.
Yes.
Do you think it is actually going to be good in Kogi, going by what the candidates are saying? The stakes are extremely high.
The stakes are extremely high, but we need to hold them accountable for the conduct of a peaceful election in that particular state. If they continue the way they are going towards the election, the tension will be too heightened. The tension will be too heightened, and this will scare people away from it. If you have, let's say you have 10 million people registered in your state, and only 1 million people come out to vote for you, what legitimacy do you have to actually go ahead to say you are their leader? Because before the election, you have instilled fear, you have intimidated people, and you have ensured that people don't come out to vote. It's a democracy. If you are popular, you come out and test your popularity. Let the people decide that you are the one that they want to vote for. And you know, and that is where we have to look at it. At the end of the day, it is not INEC that determines the number of people who comes to vote for you. It depends on the number of people who come out to vote. I remember even in Kogi last election, you will see that even the security agents are afraid of some of the party talks that they put there. That is where
I was trying to head to. How should security operatives conduct themselves? And should we expect militarization of the whole of Kogi?
No, we shouldn't expect that. Even because of the fact that there's likelihood of insecurity in Kogi, you expect that, okay, perhaps the military, even when the military is there, they are not usually around the polling units. You just see them at boundaries on the express. That's where you see them. You don't see them within the polling unit.
Yes.
And even the police officers that you see within the polling unit, they don't go with arms.
Yeah.
They don't go with arms. So you don't have, you know, the Kogi election, the language of the Kogi election in the last election was ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, even before the election.
Yes.
So when you have people like that, we expect that the security agents will begin to look for these principals and use them as scapegoats.
Okay.
As far as we don't have somebody of importance. Yes, we never hear prosecution. Nobody gets prosecuted. Nobody gets jailed or something, you know.
So who is blackmailing INEC? Because INEC is pushing for electoral offenses commission. So that it will be able to now drag some of these people to court.
Exactly.
On its own. Now, who is actually blackmailing INEC? Because I see it as blackmail. You approve so many things that will favor you, while the electoral empire, you keep eroding its powers, making it vulnerable to attacks and all that. So
I keep saying, the weakest link of our election are the political class. And the irony is that they are the ones also who benefit from it. So the irony is, if I don't benefit, the other person should not benefit. They have turned it into a do or die thing. And they are doing it at the expense of Nigerians, the people who don't understand, who go and queue up and say, okay, somebody is in their house. They come back and say, we went to vote, they gave us 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira cannot buy you 2 liters of petrol now.
Wow. Or bread.
Yes. 1,000 naira can't buy you bread.
Meaning you are mortgaging 4 years.
4 years for 1,000 naira. You understand? Somebody will go and dress up. Hey, are you saying they're giving money? Somebody will go and dress up. I have been on the field observing elections, and inside police van is where they even give the 1,000 naira.
Oh my God! This is an indictment.
Yes, inside police van.
Police will come.
No, let them come. I have the report now. I've already told them. Inside police van. It happened in Anambra. One of the elections we went to observe in Anambra.
They were conscripted.
They had a police van. They had a police van at that polling unit, and it was inside that police van they were giving people 1,000. And not only that, on election day, you know that political party agents are there. On election day, let me tell you what truly happens on the field in the polling unit. Party agents form a committee.
Someone from SDP, LP, PDP.
All of them, they become friends. They now do osusu, collect money that they will give to security agents.
Oh my God.
At the last Osho election that we had, I had to confront somebody, a security agent. One of the party agents came. I saw them. They were having an altercation.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was walking towards them, the security agent walked away. Walked away. So the party agent came and said, madam, not be any problem. That the woman is saying that the money we collected is not enough for them. So I went and met the woman and said, why are you collecting money from party agent? Were you not paid their money? She said, no, it's not me. I didn't do anything. But I met her. She was quarreling with the people.
Oh my God. Oh
that they didn't give them enough money. That is on one hand.
How low we have all reduced.
That is on one hand. And on the other hand, even as observer groups, or some observer groups go looking for politicians who will give them money.
To compromise.
To compromise. Somebody was asking me the other day and said, oh, we heard that you deployed observers. Is it not politicians? I said, how? She was asking me how much per slot. I said, what do you mean by slot? So at the end of the day, when those groups who are either they are partisan, and that's why I say I'm not a card-carrying member of any political party.
You keep insisting.
And I have always said that even when we go for election observation, we do our work as professionally as possible. We don't come out to begin to say, because this is what we saw on the media, we report what our observers send to us.
And that's why maybe you stand out.
We don't have the resources to be able to deploy too many observers. But for the ones that we have, we analyze our
take
report
care of them.
And based on our report,
and they don't compromise.
That's what we say.
Then what about Southeast, Imo precisely?
Exactly.
Even last week, killings left, right, and center.
So the concerns we have for Kogi is the same concern we have for Imo.
Okay.
Because we also saw the signs from the 2023 general election, and even before, prior to that, all of the incidents that we're having from Imo. So what we are just begging, maybe I should just use this opportunity to beg politicians. It is politicians who have to beg, because if they don't make money available, one, for arms and ammunition, for thugs, and understand that it is the people that they want to rule, that they need to come out to vote for them.
And
when we have peaceful election, that somebody doesn't support you does not mean that you will eventually lose the election. It is your program and your ideals that will convince somebody to say, come, I want to vote for this person because he has done something. You will come and promise us that, oh, I'm no longer like this, I'm like this now. But once we give you power, you turn to another tiger that we cannot even approach. We cannot even approach. So it is important that politicians understand that it is people who vote for them and not those thugs. In fact, those thugs don't even vote. It is the people who vote. There's no need to heighten tension. There's no need to cause violence because you want to win an election. There's really no need for that. And people need to be aware that politicians are giving them money. Politicians are bringing out thugs because their votes are counting. There's nobody that will come in this country and say votes are not counting. If votes are not counting, 50% of those people who won election in 2023 would not have won that election.
Yeah.
But votes are counting. Whether we like
because
it or not,
they didn't deploy resources.
Votes are counting. You will say you have a party agent. Then I tell them, if you are contesting, you want to be a president, you have 176,000 polling units. What I advise is that you have 176,000 party agents times 2.
Oh my God.
Times 2. Do you know why I say you have to have times 2? Because that's your party agent you have sent there. Maybe it is 10,000 naira or 5,000 naira you are going to pay that person. There's a political party who is paying party agents 30,000, 40,000. You will carry your report and give to that person. And even if they call them to say, do this one, you will tell you, no, it didn't happen like that. But if you have a party agent accredited by INEC, you can have undercover or a shadow party agent who will be telling you what that party agent is doing and giving you the right report. So for you to validate the report of your party agent, that's your undercover party agent. And this will be done. You don't even have to pay that undercover party agent. If you have committed party members across the country, party members should be able to volunteer to do that work without getting paid.
But how can we do it without all these people?
What we have done is that, one, party ticket is monetized. the election is monetized. Even anybody that is carrying paper for you is monetized. They are not looking at what they want to do to contribute for you. They are looking at how much at the end of the day. And that's why after election, you see that you have election entrepreneurs, you have violence entrepreneurs, you have the people who are in charge of bringing the thugs, you have the people who are in charge of causing mayhem, because they eventually get paid.
And those you voted for will not even do anything
at the end of the day.
They will try to recoup
the best they can do. The best they can do if there is violence, something happens, is perhaps that person who didn't win election, or even the one who won election, can come and bring camera, visit you and your family, and it ends there, and they will not even take care of your hospital bill. The best they can do is to come to the family, to come and show themselves that we have done this, so because perhaps there's an election that is around the corner.
So we now have 5 months to this off-season election in 3 states, and we have the 10th National Assembly. Do you think they can do something to strengthen what will happen in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State?
Yes, of course they can do something. They can
like
quickly
what?
pass the Electoral Offences Commission bill. They can quickly pass that.
But I thought it has to be reintroduced.
It has to be reintroduced according to the process.
Yes.
But they can do that. Don't we have appropriation bills that are passed, if we have variation that are passed in 1 week or 2 weeks?
And all that.
Don't we have that happens? If they take it seriously to say this is a matter of national emergency and interest, they can pass it within the 3 months. What you have to do is let it go through the entire process. A member, the executive can either present it as an executive bill, or a member presents it, and they give it the national prominence that it needs to pass. You know how many years it took us before we got this electoral act that we're looking at, or even the petroleum industry act that we had 20-something years gave us petroleum industry act. You understand?
Which is a credit to Buhari.
Yes, so it is important that this National Assembly looks at the things that happen, and that fortunately for us, we have a lot of people, new people that have come on board on the National Assembly. That maybe
individuals should spearhead this, or this should be executive bill?
It should actually be an executive bill,
so that it can have the
traction, yes, that it has. But if it's not having an executive bill, we can have one of the heads of the national, either the Senate President or the Speaker, champion the bill, and it can also take the same kind of like
the education fund bill sponsored by former Speaker Bajabiayi.
Exactly.
But now, what lessons do you think the president should learn from his success so that he can strengthen the electoral process?
Okay, the number one lesson the president has to learn is that over 50% or 100% of the people who voted for him didn't vote for him.
Wow.
So he has to put policies in place that can be an all-inclusive kind of policy to address the issues that we had, especially the economic issues. Nigeria should be a superpower nation. The issue of inclusion. What are the things that you have promised that you are going to give to the people? You need to have a timeline, a work plan that shows long-term, short-term, what you will do your first 100 days, what you will do in the next few months towards the end of your election. And number one of them is to put a technical team in place. We should have ministers in place now. And then when you have ministers in place, looking at the fact that we have this economy, you can see his body language is tending towards, okay, let's have economic growth, let's have this, and trying to do all of that. Put people in place who you will delegate your powers to. And please, the president shouldn't become the petroleum minister.
He shouldn't. Thank you very much. I wish we discussed this more, but next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wadishi, Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, for your informed perspective. Glad to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
And viewers, that's a wrap for today's edition. Bye-bye. Eid Mubarak. I'm Hamza Idris.